returned once again today to actually deliver another episode of Banana Fish. So yes, on this stream we actually are covering episode 8 of Banana Fish, and as we know, god damn it, was last week's episode really freaking depressing. It really was. It's one of those episodes that really kind of reinforced the themes of the whole entire show, and I was like, Christ, just let my boys have a good life. Everyone have a good life. Jesus Christ, it was depressing. Let all of our trios have a good life in the end, because god damn it, it's not nice, and because it kind of reinforces that everyone's kind of, in a way, has a tragic kind of life, and in theory future as well. By the looks of things, it's just damn. It's one of those things that you just kind of sit there and go, Jesus Christ, it's just leave them be. Let them live their new life. Let them be happy. I mean, we even ended on the really big cliffhanger that actually kind of again reinforces this whole entire thing. That if Ash leaves, his past still kind of creeps up to him. It's one of those things. He's a man trying to start a new life, but he can't, because his life just constantly comes back to him in the worst possible situations and hurts all those around him. It just it's horrible. It's horrible. So hopefully this episode actually doesn't end up how I expect it to go. Hopefully it's actually kind of not as bad. Hopefully we actually have a kind of, I don't even know if we're gonna have a previous episodes, but hopefully it's just not sad. Just don't want to cry. I don't want to see anyone cry as well. That was horrible watching last week's episode. It's just all round, it was horrible. So yeah, anyway, let's put on Twitter I've gone live. Right, so gone live for Banana Fish episode 8. And there we go. Right, so anyway, let's get this show on the road. So in 3, 2, 1, it's actually been this thing now. I know, it's just literally been subbed about 10 minutes ago. Amazon's quite fast when it comes to subbing lately. Oh, come on, no. Oh. That's just that little slide in. I was just like, oh. It was, my poor dude. As I said last week, the problem is with his characters, he's kind of a victim of circumstance, if you get what I mean. He's not actively trying to be an enemy within. He's not actually doing anything wrong, but life kind of puts him in that situation. The same thing kind of applies to every single character in the anime so far, really, when you think about it. Every single character is kind of a victim of something that kind of puts him to this idea that kind of doesn't allow him to actually kind of move forward. And it's kind of horrible when you think about it. Because, again, as I said beforehand, Ash is trying to distance himself from his previous life, while also probably exerting some sort of revenge upon it. But at the same time, him trying to get away from it, it's kind of not a good thing because you can't get away from it. It's always gonna come back. Ah. Again, this episode actually kind of proves it. Him sending AJ away is kind of one of those things that you kind of like, Christ, don't do that, boy, it's horrible, because you know how much he cares about you, and probably vice versa now as well. But at the same time, it's kind of one of those things. It reinforces the themes of the whole entire show. It's the idea that if anyone's around him, they're gonna get hurt, and it's just no. I don't like it when you think about it. I don't like it at all because they're people trying to change, and life is not allowing them to do so. It's kind of those things. It's not allow them to passively get away from their past. They have to kind of front it head on. Is that the word to actually use? They have to front it head on, basically. Please don't hurt my boy either. Please don't hurt my Shorter boy. Shorter's cool. Leave him alone. Just leave him alone. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, come on. Please. Please. Don't do this now. Don't do this. Don't do this now. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I mean, that whole entire scene also plays into the whole entire fact of how depressing it is for Shorter's character. Because again, as I said beforehand, him being a victim of circumstance, not actively being the enemy within, staying by his side, actually actively not allowing him to do anything to him, it proves his whole entire idea perfectly. The idea that he doesn't want this, but his life propels him into that thing, and it's kind of it's depressing. It's depressing. It's the same thing applies with most characters in the show. It's not as if they're actively trying to find this kind of life. Some try to distance themselves away from it, but others and they can't get away from it. Damn. Was that a dolly zoom just then? The more I think about it, I suppose a dolly zoom just then. Jesus Christ. That was a very cool shot. That's a very freaking cool shot. Oh, god damn it. Oh boy. Jesus Christ. Oh. That win wasn't expected. I was like, I have no idea at this point how the story will go. As I said beforehand, I said it quite a few times. The story itself is quite unpredictable the way it will go. I mean, it follows quite a lot of story beats from the 80s, but the way the outcome actually progresses, it sort of goes at a different pace than what you expect. For that reason, you really can't predict what's going to happen next. You think to yourself, okay, possibly this can't get worse, and it just gets worse. And you just kind of think to yourself, is there a way out? Will we ever be able to escape? And you sort of feel the same anxiety the characters do yourself. You don't feel like a viewer anymore. You feel like a participator in the world itself. It sort of breaks down the barrier that anime does have with the viewer slightly, in theory, when you think about it. It's not a normal anime, if you get what I mean. Probably the same thing applies to the manga. Once you sort of get into the manga itself, you don't ever feel like you're not at arm's length, if you get what I mean. Because certainly some shows kind of keep you at arm's length, so you kind of, in theory, don't really feel the pain sometimes characters do go through. Certain animes do, in theory, kind of counteract that by actually kind of making you feel really, really, really awful as a show goes on, because you feel connected to these characters. And I feel as if this show's doing this perfectly. This show's doing that idea. You love these characters so much that you don't want to see anything bad happen. You want to see them have a good life, and seeing them slowly descend into this whole entire underworld, it makes you physically ill. In theory, you kind of you're sitting there going, Christ. Give them escape. Let them breathe. Just stop hurting those around them. It's one of those things. A show actively makes you a participator of the whole entire world, and it's actually kind of great, because it's not great for your emotions, it's not great for what's going on, but it's great in the way the show's written, because you're kind of like you're actively inside this world. You're actively a character participating in this world. You always feel as if you're the fourth person in this whole entire group, or the fifth person. You don't feel like a viewer. If you catch my drift. There's no insert character for us to actually kind of project ourselves onto into the world itself. we're kind of just there, if you catch my drift. We're kind of just there within this world, and it kind of does play into the themes itself as well. The theme of the past. The past is kind of the overarching theme of this whole entire narrative. This idea of what the past can actually do to a person. This idea of people trying to escape, not being able to. And I think this episode reinforces this whole entire idea perfectly, while then also reinforcing the overall conspiracy behind the whole entire show itself. Then the title itself, actually, really, when you think about it, because the title itself is Banana Fish, and the conspiracy itself does revolve around the whole entire idea, the idea of this weaponized object, is what this thing can actually do. And in theory, when you think about it, it's actually enormously terrifying, because you think to yourself, okay, so we've got characters trying to escape the past, we've got a conspiracy, okay, so what could actually happen with all these two things? And when you think about it, not one thing sort of balances out the whole entire idea of, you ever feel as if you're kind of safe? You don't ever feel that whole entire idea at all. You're always feeling as if you're unsafe all the time, because every single event, every single plot twist just kind of reinforces this whole entire idea that you're like, Christ, just stop for a second, let me breathe, because it's just, man, it's just finding out what Banana Fish actually can do. Like we found out last week a little bit about it more than what we had beforehand, because we already had accounts and visual representations of what it actually does in 3D do to a person, but now we know the lasting effects of what it actually can do for the future as well, and what it actually in theory possesses. It's not something that's kind of like, yeah, I mean, that's just one thing to the whole entire narrative. No, it's freaking huge. It's like, Christ, you've got one thing happening, you got this on top of it. You kind of like, okay, so where's my breathing space? My heart was like, it was doing that the whole entire time for the whole entire show. I haven't felt like that in quite a while. Like, my heart just slowly started to kind of go, Christ, this is bigger than what we actually expected. And it kind of plays into the whole entirety of Eiji's character, kind of going into this world and actually not wanting to get out of it, trying to help someone else, and then knowing what's actually going on here. It's just like, it makes his whole entire character even more tragic as well. It kind of plays into this whole entire thing of whether or not people will ever have a happy ending in the show, because every single opportunity the show gets, it gives you an idea that no, this isn't the case. We're not going to get a happy ending, because there's always going to be something going on. The lasting effects of this whole entire operation will be seen in the characters. It's not something that will just kind of... It's not something to be swept underneath the rug when you think about it. It's not one of those things. It can't just be... It won't be resolved in one episode. It won't be done in one episode. It's a lasting thing that once the show is over, you might imagine to yourself, okay, so this is what's going to happen later on. You sort of kind of... It projects the future to you, in a way. You catch my drift. Once the show's over, you can actually project what's going to happen later on to the characters, how they will live their lives, if they have a happy ending or a bad ending. We don't know, that's the thing. Because you can't really predict this show at all, it's beforehand. And as I said beforehand, the same during the stream as well, the whole thing of Asia's character, like, kind of leaving this whole entire narrative, it's one of those things that you think to yourself, okay, so it's not nice what's going on between Ash and Eiji, because you know the force for change that Eiji is towards Ash. It's actually one of those things that he needs that force of change to actually kind of go forward, propel himself forward to a better life. And then you kind of you have this episode that kind of makes you go, Christ on the bike, just give this kid a break as well. Because it's not like as if he's had a good run in his whole entire narrative so far. It's one thing after another with each character. Each character has something that makes you just go, please just give him a break. Like, now he's become a pawn in the whole entire thing as well. I mean, even more so beforehand, because he was a part of this whole entire narrative, not a pawn per se. But now he's actually become a pawn of the whole entire thing. It's just one of those things. It makes his character even more tragic as well. It makes what he was trying to do feel even more depressing as well, because he's trying to build a better future for Ash, and in theory helping him to get that life. But as I said beforehand, you can't escape it. There's no way to escape this whole entire idea. You're always perpetually stuck in this whole entire thing. I think the show kind of does, in theory, play with that idea to the point where it kind of says to you can't escape that unless you front it head on and actually kind of then extinguish it yourself, which I guess is probably the whole entire point in the whole entire narrative, this idea of having to extinguish the past yourself and not being able to actually kind of because there's no way to run away. Because in certain narratives, people would just run away and be like, okay, I'm going to start a new life. You've seen it at the end of crime heists. films. People just go, okay, I'm done here. I'm leaving. I'm not look back at all. It's my final job. I'm leaving, boys. And then start a new life. But here it's not the case. Here, if Ash leaves, his past is always there. Like, someone will just creep behind him and steal someone he cares about. And it's one of those things you can't ever feel at ease, because it's always going to be there. It's always going to be lingering in the background, the whole entire narrative of whether or not Ash will be safe. If Ash takes down Dino, will he still be safe? We don't know, because it still can be subordinates. You don't know how large his whole entire operation actually is. It seems very freaking large. So at that point, you kind of think to yourself, okay, so if that's the case, if he gets out, if he leaves, he takes down Dino, he won't have time to himself, because he'll always be looking over his shoulder. He hasn't got a life when he escapes this thing. He hasn't got a life. He hasn't. He's still kind of stuck in this whole entire thing. And it kind of proves to you at that point, Ash's character is tragic. He's a tragic person because he's someone trying to get out of it, but he can't because he's stuck. And it's just freaking depressing. It really freaking is. It's one of those things I haven't felt this towards a character in quite a while. I think the last character I felt this towards was Kiriyama from Sangatsu, because, again, he was someone who was stuck in a place. He was actively trying to change that, and certain things crept behind him, and he couldn't get out of that until he actually kind of realised certain things. But here it's different, because even if he does escape and takes down Dino and actually kind of lives his whole entire life free of everything going on, is he safe? So it kind of in theory subverts certainly some of the 80s tropes that sometimes shows and movies do have, because shows and movies, as I said beforehand, do tend to actually kind of have a job happens, the person leaves, and that's it. They live their life like free of anything going on. I've seen it quite a few times. But here you never really kind of feel that, because you always feel as if you're kind of stuck there like, Christ, yeah, he ain't gonna have a good life at the end of this. No one is. Everyone's kind of stuck in this whole entire thing of like, yeah, they need a break. They need their lives back, in the sense of just being away from the whole entire thing and actually just kind of extinguishing everything. And it's just And also the camera work as well in this episode was actually really freaking good, because I don't know if it was just me, but the camera work really did isolate certain characters into the frame itself, because there was a lot of aerial shots, a lot of long shots. It really kind of made the characters seem small, and it kind of proves to you their importance, this whole entire world itself, their importance, this whole entire narrative at that very one section, because it was echo for the whole entire show, this idea of the isolation certain characters feel, because camera shots do isolate the characters as well, especially in this show as well. The isolation characters do feel, not being able to escape, is actually echoed through the camera work. And I think this episode actually did really prove it as well, because it seems as if certain characters aren't what they seem on surface. Like, you have characters you can't trust, because you had it with Shorter's whole entire character. What's going on in the background of him? Like, you think to yourself, okay, so that character he's gone to visit might not be bad, we don't know just yet, but in the end he's actually kind of not that great. And then it's further proof later on that actually is more to his character than what meets the eye, because he's not what you think he is. He's actually got a past. He's got a past that he's got a past that really does, in theory, kind of tell you, Christ, that there's more to him than what we know just yet. And it kind of, when he says, look, well, actually, if anything happens, I'll take everyone down with me, because I know what he did, it kind of proves to you there and then it's actually not what you think. Like, certain characters do possess this whole entire idea of being kind of, like, very, oh crap, but there's actually more to them. I think how the show kind of slowly gives us information about these characters actually does, in theory, echo his whole entire idea, and actually kind of adds to the whole entire idea, actually, when you think about it, because I think it really does work in that context, because if you fed the information straight away, it kind of lessens the blow of certain things, but here it kind of works really damn well, because you're kind of like, okay, so do we trust them or don't we trust them? We don't trust him just yet, but maybe there's more to him than what we know. And also, the fact was, Shorter's character as well was depressing as well, because, as I said beforehand, he's a person that never left Eiji's side. He's a victim of circumstance. It's kind of terrible when you think about it. Like, the whole entire time, he was basically saying, look, I would never let anyone lay a finger on him. I opened my dead body. I was like, Christ, dude, it's depressing. I understand I understand what's going on here, because you're trying to not allow anyone to anyone to do anything to him because you know yourself. You didn't look for this. Life just put you here, and it's kind of, it's horrible. It's the people he knows just kind of put him in that situation. He doesn't want to do it. You can see it there at that one point. He didn't want to do it, but life just does that, and it's morally depressing, really depressing actually. So yeah, Christ, this show is just, oh boy, this show is just a whole lot of emotions. Really, when you think about it, it's a whole lot of emotions. I mean, I don't know how this show will progress. I really don't know, because there's certain things with certain characters, especially with Lee's character beforehand. The same with Lee's character, that there's more to them. There's more to everyone in this whole entire show. I don't know anymore. I can't predict it, because you think to yourself, okay, this can't get worse. The events just can't go any worse than what they are currently, can they? And it just kind of throws you a curveball. You're like, God damn it, just give me a second to breathe, please. That's why I'm just kind of going back to this whole entire idea of you not actively being a viewer anymore. You're kind of participating. You're kind of not participating in the world, but you're breaking down that fourth wall between you and the anime. And I think it's actually a really freaking good job because of it. So yeah, that's me done for today. I'm gonna go lie down in the corner and cry. Oh boy, my chest really hurts. So yes, with all that said, I've indeed been the driver. So if you have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on Twitch, then do leave a follow, because indeed it does help me quite a bit. If you enjoy doing here on YouTube and you do want to leave a like, then do leave a like, because indeed it does help me quite a bit. If you enjoy doing here on YouTube and you want to stay a little bit longer, then do leave a sub, because indeed it does help me quite a bit. But until next time with some more Banana Fish, I will see you guys later. Bye for now.